Hi guys, Hengist here from House of Hengist Comics, and a big welcome back to the channel. Today we're in Norway as part of our Norway in Flames series. This is entitled Tales of the Unexpected Part 1, and it's a little bit different. Effectively the news, we've got anti-Jews which are basically inbound. They've landed now effectively and dropped their payload, which is Fallschirmjäger. They've safely parachuted into Narvik and have taken up positions supporting the Kriegsmarine and the Gebirgsjäger. A lot of the German transport equipment is suffering from some shortages, but there's still operation. There are some down times, and we can see this photo with the lads with an accordion. The damage in Narvik is horrific. We have ships all over there sunk. We've got aircraft basically bombing British ships. And the Germans, although they lack a little bit of fuel, have still got sufficient reconnaissance up there. The British anti-aircraft gunners, well, they're real busy. So today it's all about the air, or is it? And let's start straight off with the RAF forces which are in play. This is quite simple. It's a flight of 3 Hurricanes. We've rolled for them. We've got 2 confident veterans and 1 green pilot. They're basically named Sullivan, Bennett, and basically we've also got Bobby Moore. So let's have a look now at the German forces and what they have. They've got 2 Me-110s basically, which are inbound to the actual sector, and 1 Ju-87 Stuka, as we can see here. The Stuka has become separated. The Me-110s have got to escort her effectively back to the airstrips in the south. The set, well, again, we follow the same sort of format whether we're doing land, sea or air. We try and build these backdrops. So we've got a Norwegian ship here, the Atlas. She's just like a general cargo and fisherman of no particular practical value. A few vehicles, a small portside facility. This is in Bergen, and that's important to note. So we're a little bit further south, so to speak. Again, there's a mountainside. We've got obviously the road, we've got fencing along the road, and we've also got close to the mountain a small cave which will come into play in the second part of this game. There's a close-up here of the cave in itself. Obviously, again, we're using sprinkle, we use a lot of clump and the trees, and we're trying to replicate these types of scenes where possible. The rules that we're using, yet again, it's version 2 and 3 with our bolt-ons, and we've got an air deck in play. So without further ado, let's have a quick look at the mission. As I said, it's an escort mission this time, and we can see the Me-110s taking off. They will be intercepted by the 3 Hurricanes, and battle will commence as such. Initial moves, both sides are on opposite ends of the length of the table and about to contact. There is strange half-light around here, as will be explained in a moment. So without further ado, let's get into the battle action. And by God, it's a weird and wonderful one. We're suddenly struck by an eclipse. As the eclipse takes place, and we have basically 2 German aircraft inbound, the Me-110s, against effectively the 2 Hurricanes which have arrived, led by Peachy Bennett, and the second pilot is Sullivan, who opens fire immediately but fails to do really any damage, as the Me-10s are unflustered and return fire again with their cannons and basically shoot holes in the fuselage of the Hurricane, which unfortunately catches fire, and Sullivan's desperately trying to pull on his canopies, trying to get out of the aircraft, but he's so low and he crashes into the deck with a massive explosion. The Me-110s press on ahead. Bennett basically banks, and we get the arrival effectively of Flight Sergeant Bobby Moore. At the same point, we get a Stuka aircraft which is basically coming over the mountains. Bobby Moore is basically flanking, turning hard to starboard. He's got a narrow turn in that Hurricane and quickly is trying to join up with his wing leader. The Me-110s are effectively now turning to port themselves and bringing themselves back, and we have a mad again face-off as the 2 aircraft basically take on the Hurricane. Bennett opens fire, misses. Both the Me-10s miss in this gloomy half-light. when the rear gunner of the Stuka starts garbling into the radio about some huge thing that he's seen. The pilot's incredulous, and out of this mist, a huge beast appears. It appears to be some sort of troll, dare I say it, a massive creature, huge, crashing through the undergrowth, its huge feet basically stamping on the mountain. The German pilots are incredulous at this moment, and so are the RAF. They can't believe what they've just seen, and everyone's sort of stunned. They're all forced to take beast fear. Some of the aircraft veer away, others don't. But the RAF basically are moving in towards where this creature is moving. There's beast fear into place. Bobby Moore basically decides that he's going to go and try and investigate, maybe even see, he's got a camera on board if he can take a photograph. He's going in, but Bennett's like trying to warn him, no, you know, stay away from it. He gets too close, and the beast, requiring a 6, manages to literally grab the Hurricane in full flight, even with the turbos going. He's being shaken around like a rag doll. Moore basically manages to make a reaction check, pulls the canopy back and jumps just in time basically to get out of the way. The beast has still got hold of the aircraft above, and effectively Moore is terrified. This huge roar erupts, and it is deafening as Bennett, who's just arrived trying to save his friend, opens fire again on the troll. Meanwhile, the Stuka, seeing this in terror, decides it's going to drop its payload. You know, revenge for the Wilhelm Gustav, just drops its 500 kilo bomb. It basically narrowly misses, and there is some damage, but nothing major on the Atlas. In the meantime, basically, what we see is the Stuka effectively decides, well, we're not even hanging around here, and basically bugs out as Bennett opens fire with all his cannons, getting a large number of hits, but no real damage to the beast, that picks up what he's holding, which is an aircraft, and uses it like some sort of primitive club. He rolls, and again rolls a 6, hitting the other Hurricane. Bennett's out of control. He's hurtling towards the dust, just as the troll just hurls Moore's aircraft into the tree line, which explodes. Bennett's going down. He can't get his chute out. He closes his eyes. It's his very last seconds as he crashes into the forest canopy and explodes into flame. What we then see are the ME-10s. They've had enough. They're not going anywhere near it. They basically, again, decide to get speed up. They're just going to drop their payloads, open fire on Atlas, and basically drop their bombs. These are to no effect. Meanwhile, shaking in terror, in fear, we see Bobby Moore, who's basically stuck out on that plateau as the huge thudding footfalls of the beast moves back towards the mountain. Well, that was magic, and I loved it personally. But this is actually a historical photograph which was taken, unbelievably, in 1942 by an RAF recon flight. I think it was just near Berg or Bergen. And if you look at the picture here a little bit closer, what on earth is it if it isn't a huge beast? There's another photograph that I located. Again, it may be a false one, it could be an explosion, but if you look closely, it also looks like it, and you can see a tank and infantryman there fighting. Obviously we've got poor old Bobby Moore facing this giant beast, and today in Norway there is still a huge amount of reality or myth about them. The interesting point is, who's going to report what? And if they report anything, are they going to end up in an asylum? An interesting other picture I managed to dig out is obviously this one, which has been credited as being a troll that's been turned to stone. But there's a lot of weird in World War II, and I wanted to get this in now. I mean, Operation Paperclip at the end of the war about getting technology was because the Germans made massive strides in terms of aeronautical, development, weapons development and technology. So what we thought we'd do to boost the whole series as well was also explore some of these unusual historical sightings and allow on ourselves also to take a little bit of license as well and use our imagination. These won't be big games. They're not going to it's not going to affect the outcome of the war, but it's something different. And so in the next episode, which is the second part, we're going to be looking at the emergence of Hydra. Obviously this is inspired by the comics themselves, but I wanted to really try and do something a little bit different that hasn't been done before, and again link it directly with sightings and observations, and maybe create a comic backstory. Are we going to have Nazi zombies? Hell yes. And are we going to basically try and recreate some of the other movies? I mean, we'd be doing, you know, the great historical ones, but I think Iron Sky and other stuff like that could be really good fun to make. There's certainly very entertaining games in their own right. We're going to have obviously super villains and superheroes such as Captain America and all of that. Why not? And I think if that keeps the players happy, and also you guys as the viewers as a light-hearted take on some of the intense action that we're displaying, then that's good. But if we get back to the front line for a moment, there's so much going on, and even though we've only got 2 pitched battles left, there are still bits and pieces I want to complete with the air and the sea operations. So we'll be seeing the Fallschirmjäger and the Gebirgsjäger in action soon. We'll be seeing what's left of the Norwegian forces trying to make a stand, possibly, if they haven't already surrendered. And obviously what I'd also like to say is that we've got Das Boot coming up, our opening little episode, so that should be quite good. So in the meantime, please stay tuned for more from Norway, and have a really fantastic day yourselves, and I hope you've had a great day wargaming. So it's over and out from me. Bye for now.